Okay, first of all, I want to say that, again, very impressed tonight. Some excellent work. And what I did is I made a little bit of a change as I was going through. I was going through sort of the same way as I did last week and writing down long, detailed notes. And I started to think that because when I actually looked at myself on the tape during during this week, and I said, you know, I don't think it's working as well as it could. I believe that even though I'm debriefing right after, I don't really have time to process my thoughts. I still feel that I wasn't totally happy with. I thought I was giving too much detail and not really categorizing things or classifying them, if you want to use a verb from Bloom that we just. The presentation we just heard. So I've switched it a bit tonight, and what I'm trying to do it now, and we'll probably do for the rest of the time, although I'll take your feedback on this. If you guys like this approach after, you can tell me yes, and if you would prefer that I go back to the other way, I can do that too. But I'm going to try to categorize them into a thematic sort of approach. Okay, so as I'm listening to the presentation, I'm going to sort of see if, as I'm going to noticing details, I'm going to see if they fit into some thematic patterns that I can talk about. Because I think that will make the learning experience a bit better for all of you and for all of us. So that's what I've done. So I've started off with some things here. The first theme, sequencing. Okay, when they start their presentation, I sort of wrote down, I noticed in their presentation, some sort of key words. They would take something in a new topic, start out right from the beginning, and they used the tag. In fact, at the beginning was a very humorous tag with the blooming of the flower, right? So they started out with a tag to get you hooked into whatever they were talking about, and they followed this kind of sequence throughout. Now, whether they did it consciously or subconsciously, I'm not really aware. It doesn't matter. But they had this tag method that got you into it. Then they started asking questions, and the questions at the outset were wonderful questions. Questions like, you know, how can we get the kids to learn the best way? I can't remember all the exact wording, but what is the best way that we want them to learn the best way that they can? And just these great expectations, to borrow a title from Charles Dickens, that it was started off with these assumptions that this is what we're going to do. It's just a real empowering way to start. So that was, they went to the questions to get you into and to get you thinking about and drawing on your own knowledge about what they were going to do. The next thing they did was they started, again, an activity. So you've got the tag, you've gone back to your prior knowledge, you've thought about what it is you're going to do, and then they immerse you right away in an activity, the Christmas tree activity and the sequencing activity and so on with the posters that were done. And that, by doing that, they immersed you right away in what they were going to do. Still hadn't even told you yet. As David mentioned, you know, we're still in the intro stage at this point. Hadn't even told you what we're going to do, but you're immersed right away, okay, in this process. And then they go, okay, now you've done the activity, now I'm going to tell you what it means. Well, again, very powerful. Why? Because when you do the activity, you're just enjoying the activity. You're not even really worrying about what it means too much. Everybody was engaged. I know I was over here, I was enjoying it. Everybody I noticed was just enjoying the activity, not really worrying about what it was all about. But then after, they break it down and explain it. Okay? And so this is sort of a sequencing process that you can back off on and try to backload on or piggyback, whatever you want to say, but you can use a similar sequence to this. Very powerful. Okay? Activity breakdown. Basically, I've already touched on that. It leads off the first one. When they did an activity, they said, this is what it's all about. This is what we're learning from it. Even their little test at the end. Okay, where are we on the taxonomy? How does it fit? Right? Explaining and breaking an activity down so that it makes sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? And showing where it applied. Okay, a couple of things. These are some minor tech points that I noticed these on a few presentations earlier as well. And so I'm going to reiterate them here just for everybody to be aware of. With bullets, okay? You know what I'm talking about with bullets, a little black dot or whatever color you use for a point. If you only have one point, we don't use a bullet. Okay? A few people have mentioned it's a minor mistake. It's not serious, but just be aware of it because it is, you know, it's a little bit aggravating to see a slide with only one point and a bullet. You don't need a bullet. There's only one point. Just remember that. Okay? You just put the point on there. Bullets are when you have 3 or 4 points, and usually a heading to go with it. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. So just be alert to that. One other short tech point was, I noticed David keep mentioning the intro. And at first it was great, but then you're still doing this as intro after about 25 minutes. And I was like, you have to you know, what I thought was you kind of, what you do is you create a little bit of fear, actually, in the people listening. The people listening are going, oh man, this is going to be a 3-hour meeting. It's still intro, and we're 27 minutes of 90 minutes. Of course, they didn't really, their presentation was well within the time frame as they did it, and they did a little bit of condensing, so that's fine. But what happens is, just be careful, okay? You know, your intro should fit in within the time frame of your presentation. Your presentation is 90 minutes, your intro can be 15 minutes, but probably not 30 or 35. Okay, not a serious point. Either of those are serious points, but just be alert to that. Okay. Okay. The facilitator. I want to mention this. This was such a powerful thing in this presentation. I hope that you noticed that while both of our presenters tonight are relatively high energy presenters, they're fairly low key. Right? Zarni is not somebody that's, you know, rah rah, ecstasy, double ecstasy. The song. I don't know if I got any of the words right or wrong, but that's not Zarni's style, and it's not David's style. But did you also notice? I hope everybody noticed. It was very engaging, very interesting, very informative, and even though their presentation was low key, not rah rah rah, still it was engaging. So please be alert to the fact that you can use your own style, whatever it is. If it's low key and a quiet style, you can use that and still create engagement. Often we tend to have this misdirected view in education that you got to be, you know, you don't need to do that. If it's not your style, you don't have, it's not required, okay? And when David came up and he had his flower up here, and he was talking about his flower very quietly, and everybody still laughed at it. It wasn't any less funny because he was talking about it quietly. Maybe it was even more funny because he just sort of quietly said, "It's a blooming flower." You know? I mean, this, you know. So be alert to the fact that whatever your style is, you can make it work. There's no need to change your style to fit what somebody else is doing. Okay, so be alert to that. And also the other thing was just wonderful teamwork. Both of them had a real sense of where they should fit in. You know, I noticed Zarni coming in. Zarni was sort of the activity person, you know, because why? Because your background with the small kids, right? Got a fairly extensive background in education, worked with some of the others. David was you know, sort of doing more of the explaining. They used their styles very well to work with each other and feed off each other. Very, very good point, which we can all learn from.